Good morning, folks. Everything new under the sun. Well, I'm going to take a look at some articles, and we're going to see why Isaiah 17 happens. We're going to see that whole situation converging. We're going to see exactly why Israel has to go and destroy Damascus. It's pretty interesting, I think. We're going to start with a couple news articles about Lebanon, however. Briefly, this is from jewsnews.co.il. Let's face the facts. All-out war between Israel and Hezbollah is coming, it says. Lebanon might cease to exist because of it. So a number of places are ceasing to exist. And apparently they're suggesting Lebanon is. We know that Damascus will cease to exist. Damascus will become a ruinous heap. We're going to read about that. Analysts have been saying for years that it was only a matter of time until Israel and Lebanon's Hezbollah terrorist militia were again engaged in open conflict. The events of the past several days have finally woken most Israelis up to the seriousness of the warning. So, of course, Hezbollah is cautiously watching Israel as Israel goes and destroys the tunnels in the border area there with Israel. It's a direct threat. It's an existential threat to Israel, and that's why Israel is so forceful about going in and dealing with these tunnels. Well, here's another one. Israeli Air Force flies over Lebanese-Syrian border, first time in 3 months. So you can see stealth aircraft in the image there. They are flying over here. Again, they've not been doing a lot of sorties or flights over Syria, Lebanon, because of the Russian involvement, because of the Russian S-300. It's coming out now that they are starting to increase the number of flights. The Israeli Air Force made several passes over the Lebanese-Syrian border on Sunday. So where's the S-300? It says, for the first time since the crisis with Moscow erupted in September, the flights passed over northern and central Lebanon, although in the past Israeli jets stayed close to the south. I would suggest to you that they're similar to what they were doing in Ukraine when they were testing the S-300 in the war games. They are now flying on the outskirts, testing Russia's resolve, testing the limits of the S-300, testing to see whether the S-300 system's batteries are actually starting to target their aircraft or not. And so I think this is pretty interesting. And the more they learn about the S-300 as they fly near it, around it, around the known batteries and known installations, the more confidence they'll have that they can do a larger strike. And there is a larger strike coming. The Bible speaks of a massive military strike, even nuclear strike on Damascus. And now, in the next couple of articles, we're going to read about why they strike Damascus. Why? Bashar Assad isn't doing much. So why do they have to wipe out Damascus? Well, the answer is coming in a second here. The Israeli Air Force made several passes over the Lebanese-Syrian border on December 16th, the first time since Moscow the issue erupted. The Russians are conducting air and sea exercise opposite Syria's west coast, for which Eastern Mediterranean was placed off limits. Although the Israeli aircraft stayed clear of the closed area, the distances were small to indicate that the IDF must have cleared the flight paths with headquarters at Russian Air Base at Maimin near Latakia, which is managing the exercise. So apparently they're still talking to the Russians. This means that the Israeli-Russian Air Force liaison, suspended after the downing of the Russian IL-20, may be up and running again. Just 5 days ago, a senior Israeli military delegation led by General Haliva, head of IDF operations, spent 24 hours in Moscow in talks with high-ranking Russian officers. The Russians said in a short statement that the IDF delegation had briefed them on Israel's operation against Hezbollah tunnels and discussed the coordination with Russian command in Syria. No statement came from Israel on the visit. However, the renewed Israeli flights over Lebanon indicate some measure of understanding was reached. So that's apparently the situation on the ground. There's some agreement there with the Russians, but again, I think Israel is also testing the S-300, testing the distance, how far they can get away from the S-300, or how close they can get to it. And I believe they would have some electronics indicating whether they're being targeted via radar from these systems. So maybe, no doubt, Russia is also using this to actively track the aircraft and practice tracking them to see if the S-300 can indeed keep an eye on them. They just won't shoot it, is probably the agreement there. Let's head on to this one. This is from almagnier.com. New rules of engagement between Syria and Israel as Russia changes its position. Let's see if we can pull up this article here. Syria will adopt a new rule of engagement with Israel now that Russia has taken a tougher and clearer stance on the conflict. Henceforth, it says, Damascus will be responding to any Israeli strike. Okay, Damascus. Now, any strike that Israel goes in and does against Syria, the response is going to be coming directly out of Damascus. And now you start to see why Isaiah 17 occurs. It occurs because Israel has to do strikes in Syria, and apparently there's some retaliation from Damascus specifically, not any other city in Syria. And so Israel decides to take them out because apparently they've done maybe even a strike on Israel. It says decision makers in let me go up a sentence here. If it damages a specific military target, it will reply, Damascus that is, with a strike against a similar object in Israel. So Damascus will basically deploy tit-for-tat strikes. Decision makers in Damascus said Syria will not hesitate to hit Israeli airport if Damascus airport is targeted and hit by Israel. This will be with the consent of the Russian military because of the Levant. And what is the Levant? That is the Promised Land. That is the greater area that the Jewish people were given, the Promised Land, biblically. And the Arabs want that as well. All the Arab nations want the Levant, the greater Promised Land. It says this Syrian political decision based on clear position taken by Russia in Syria following the downing of the aircraft. In 2015, when the Russian military landed in Syria, it informed parties concerned that it had no intention to interfere in the conflict between them and Hezbollah, and that it would not stand in the way of Tel Aviv planes bombing Hezbollah military convoys on their way to Lebanon or Iranian military warehouses. This was a commitment to remain an onlooker. Of course, this has changed. An onlooker if Israel hit Iranian target objectives, military objectives, or Hezbollah convoys transporting arms to Hezbollah from Syria to Lebanon. It also informed Israel that it would not accept any attacks on its allies, Syria, Iran, Hezbollah, and their allies, it says, engaged in fighting ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and its allies. Israel respected the will of Moscow until the beginning of 2018, when it started to attack Iranian bases and Syrian military, though it never attacked the Hezbollah military position. Israel justified its attack against the Iranian military facility called T4 by claiming it sent drones over Israel. Russia's neutrality towards Israel in the Levant turned out to be quite expensive. It has lost more than Iran, especially after the downing of the IL-20. It lost there it says right there, 15 officers highly trained to use most advanced communication and espionage systems. So Russia lost a lot when that plane went down. Russia then brought to Syria its long-awaited S-300 and delivered them to the Syrian army while maintaining electronic coordination and radar command. The S-300 poses a danger to Israeli jets only if these violate Syrian airspace. Tel Aviv has kept its planes out of Syria since September, it says, but launched long-range missiles against a couple of targets. So this is, I believe, why Israel has to go into Damascus. Now we know, because the question before was, well, why? Why are they just going in there to cut the head off the snake? Is Bashar Assad really the threat? And I think now we know because Russia has decided that Damascus is the central command, the center of operations. And if any strikes in Syria happen, there were retaliatory strikes. The counter strikes are going to come from Damascus. And so Isaiah 17 speaks of Israel going in and making Damascus a ruinous heap, likely because they retaliate. Damascus does, Russia and Bashar Assad retaliate against Israel in maybe a massive strike on Israel, maybe against an airport or something like that. And so Israel goes in and takes out Damascus and all the anti-air weaponry, batteries, Russian technology that is really um, centralized around Damascus as a kind of a hub, a military hub of all this radar and weaponry and espionage equipment, radar jamming equipment, etc. So now I think this gives us a much clearer picture of why Damascus is hit. It's not just a political target. It's not just a good metaphorical target or something like that. But there's a specific reason why Isaiah 17 happens, and it's because the center of military command and control from the Russians is there. And boy, you talk about a hook in the jaw. If Israel does that and takes out all the Russian military equipment, that would so anger Russia that that would be just, again, another hook in the jaw, maybe the final hook in the jaw that draws Russia into battle against Israel. When their weapon systems, anti-aircraft systems, espionage systems, radar jamming systems are wiped out from a nuclear attack that makes Damascus a ruinous heap, as described in Isaiah 17, I think that would absolutely be a great reason for Russia to say, that's it, we're going into Israel. We can't stop them. They just bombed and killed a pile of our soldiers and a pile of our advanced technology. Now we are marching on Israel. That's why I think Isaiah 17 is the obvious forerunner to Ezekiel 38 and 39. And I think we're going to see it soon. And apparently, Russia has laid down the gauntlet. They have set up new rules of engagement. Russia changes; it's flip-flopping. It's now being a more firm adversary in Syria, and it's basically setting up Damascus as the center of operations. So the red line is on the ground. Syria will not hesitate to hit Israeli airport if Damascus airport is targeted and hit by Israel. This will be the consent of the Russian military based on the Levant. This will be the consent, let me repeat, of the Russian military based in the Levant. And so this is a situation coming. This is the change of the status quo. This is a clear position taken by Russia in Syria. And we are so close. We are getting so close. Everything is coming into focus now. We now understand why Israel takes out Damascus. We now understand really one of the major hooks as to why Russia is actually pulled into the battle once and for all. Basically because they've made a statement about Damascus, and Damascus is taken out and becomes a ruinous heap, as described in Isaiah 17, and they march on Israel. So guys, I'll leave it there. I think that was it. I may talk about markets in another video here, but a Middle East update here. Lord's returning soon. All these items are coming to focus. Now we understand why Isaiah 17 happens. I think it's pretty fascinating to watch. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll leave it there. Hope you know Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. He's coming soon. And prior to that, some big biblical wars are coming to pass, and we can see them building as we speak. This next 6 months is going to be big, I think, in terms of the strikes. Russia has changed its position. Russia is now ready to strike back. Israel is not backing down. They're flying into Lebanon, apparently with agreement with the Russian military at this point, but we'll see how that turns out. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll leave it there, and we will see you guys in the next video.